Hey everyone, this is Mike with the One Stop Co-op Shop, and it's anime time again. Hopefully, this little foray into anime I've been doing recently hasn't pissed off too many of you. So this week I'm looking at A Sign of Affection. My wife and I finished watching the first season, which finished recently. And yeah, this one is about a college student named Yuki who is pretty much completely deaf, and she meets another college student on campus named Itsuomi, and they get interested in each other, and romance brews. This is definitely a full-on romance show. Let's get into 5 key things about A Sign of Affection. A disclaimer that I watched all of this on Crunchyroll, only with English subtitles, and I have not read any of the source material that the anime is based on. So first, my number 5 point is a full pro, and this is how the main character's deafness and signing and communication are handled in the show. Now, full disclaimer that I don't personally know anyone with major hearing challenges like this, and I don't know much about kind of that community, especially in Japan. I know nothing about it. But at least from my perspective, I think the show handles things in what seems to be a really lovely way. Yuki is never shown to be like too weak or helpless, but at the same time, the challenges of communication are definitely shown in a realistic way, and it never seems like it's making fun of it or being critical of it. People respect sign language, but they also find other creative ways to make their wants known and to communicate with each other. Now, what I'm not as sure about is my number 4, and this is my biggest complaint about the show, although I'm still going to call it a mix, and that's the kind of core character development of the 2 main characters, or 2 MCs. So first for Itsuomi, the main guy, he is a bit of, what's the term, a Gary Stu? He's kind of, at least in this first season, totally perfect. He's super hot. He's super smart. He somehow has enough money to travel all over the world without any problem. Don't get me wrong, I love the character. He's so like charming and awesome and cool. But if I look at it critically, I don't know. He's maybe a little too perfect. Now, the bigger one that brings this to a mix for me is how Yuki is portrayed, because she's a young woman, she's in college, but like they never say anything about like what she's studying, what she's passionate about. She's just kind of there going to classes. She does eventually get some goals like finding a job and stuff, but a lot of it seems to be sort of driven by her wanting to be with the guy and wanting to follow in his dreams and wanting to like kind of go along with his goals. Yuki just kind of seems to be doing everything Itsuomi is doing, and it's okay, but it's not as good as it could be to me. Well, my number 3 point is a full-on pro again, and that's the side characters and their kind of tangential love stories. And this was interesting because when the show first started, I saw what seemed like some simple love triangles, and those are there. Some people who kind of wanted to mess up the MC's relationship and get their own love going on. And I wasn't sure if these characters would matter very much. But what surprised the heck out of me, especially in such a short series, only 12 episodes, is that by the end, there was meaningful development for these side characters, and they kind of found their own relationships, or at least started to investigate their own like love connections and things. Getting on to my number 2 point, this one is a full pro for my taste, but you might not think so, depending on what you want out of a romance. And this is the pacing and the challenges in the romances. A lot of these manga and anime romances that I've read, at least, have like miscommunication, and they can never say anything, and they can never be like physical with each other, and it takes like 50 seasons for them to finally like say I love you. That's sort of how the regular thing tends to go. But this is college-age students. And I'll say I've watched so many anime about high school students. It was weird to be like, oh, yeah, that's right. They're older. They maybe are a little bit more controlled in their life. And that's what happens in the show. They communicate. And the romance moves pretty quickly. And they like get to pretty serious places in a short amount of time. But I love that the show didn't dwell on those frustration points and those kind of annoyances to create false tension. Instead, they just let you see a lovely relationship develop in a way that I think is pretty realistic. But the reason this might not be a pro for you is if you want those more serious love triangles and like picking best girl and best guy, if you want fighting and, conflict and, oh no, misunderstanding and then they hate each other, or if you want to like have 3 seasons before they kiss, the show's going to let you down because they don't waste any time. They get right to the good stuff. So yeah, for me, I loved it as a change of pace, but other people might be looking for something else. And finally, my number 1, full on pro. This is a lot of pros for the show. I just loved it. And that is the love. That is the romance. It is so cute. The characters are so adorable together. They're so sweet with each other. They're so caring. They're so thoughtful. Just like these little moments where they do things for each other, especially Itsuomi doing stuff for Yuki, the main female protagonist. I don't know. It just made my wife and I swoon so many times and like cry happy tears and stuff. And again, even with the side characters, their little romantic moments are just so well carried off. So yeah, no surprise with those points that this is a big recommend if you like romance, romantic comedies, more serious romances. Whether you like anime or not, there's not really much in here that's sort of the over the top stuff that you might think of with anime. So I think A Sign of Affection is a great show to try out and see. On the other hand, if you don't like romances, that's what the show is. It's like all the show is. So I don't think that's going to win you over. And also, again, if you are looking for like tons of tension and will they, won't they kind of stuff, and like a romance that keeps you on the edge of your seat but never really fulfills anything for you, the show might also be a little too fast paced and a little too happy for your taste. But for me, it's a full on winner, and I loved A Sign of Affection. Fully recommend it.